texting because it's on my toodles. Hey guys, today is Tuesday and it is Blah Blah Tuesday. And I'm doing a video, an eyeshadow palette declutter. I've gone through my palettes. I know which ones I want to get rid of and which ones I want to keep. So, going through them, I'm going to talk a little bit about them. Hopefully make this video not like 1,000 years long, but, you know, kind of quick. Get it done kind of quick and whatnot. So, let's get this on the road. Maybe that might help a little bit. Alright, in my Shop My Stash, I was using this palette in Power Start and painting this shade. So I'm definitely... Okay, this palette... Haven't had this palette long, but it doesn't smell like it should. I don't use it much. It smells like dirt. When it smells like... when it smells like dirt, you want to get rid of it. But I'm not getting rid of this palette right now. It does not smell good, but I'm trying to pan that shade. So I'll probably throw it away at the end of the month when this month is up. It's almost up and almost time to switch palettes again. So next Monday, this palette will probably go into the trash because it's not smelling right. But as for now, it's going over here in this collection and I am keeping it. I have this palette here, which is my Essence palette, which is new to my collection. I got this on the 22nd of last month, 22nd, no, June. But it's out in June. And it's actually a pretty good palette. Just to let y'all know, tomorrow is my palette switch. And I'm switching it with this palette, so I'm going to set this palette out. Alright, getting into Shop My Stash. My palette's almost fell. It's like stacked like full, and it was really nice. This palette is in Shop My Stash. It is the palette that I'll be switching with tomorrow. It's still pretty good. I finished this shade off today. You can see my eyes. I'm using this palette today, and the little top shade. This shade was hard pan, and I scraped the top off. There's still some of the top on it. I was scraping it off. So, and I was using this, so hopefully I can, I'm keeping that palette as well. I must have to set these. Set those aside because that goes back into my shines. Now, I have this palette here. It's my Face One Cosmetic Glamour eyeshadow palette. Not getting rid of this palette. I like this palette. It was only $2.50 at the 99-cent store. Which, if you live in Pasadena, you know where the 99-cent store. I live in LaPorte. So, I know where it's at. And, of course, I had to pan that shade. And I did pan it. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe this shade here is going to get panned because I keep this on my vanity and my little thing, and I use this sometimes as well. I have these blushes. So I'm using a blush now. So probably when that blush is done, I want to go through all my makeup I have, and anything that is panned, I'm going to just shove it in Shop My Stash and try to finish it up. I'm trying to finish up makeup that has been panned for me. Getting into the next palette. You know I'm never getting rid of this palette. This is my James Charles palette. I got this for Christmas last year. And I'm letting y'all know, you see how filthy and dirty it is? Because I use it. And I was just talking to, I wasn't talking to him, but I sent a message. I'm trying to think. And I told him one shade was about to be panned, and it's this shade right here. And if I'm not mistaken, that shade is GUAC. And that's about to be panned. Because I definitely reach for that shade a lot. Why? I do not know, but I reach for that shade. It's kind of weird, right? But I'm just reaching for that particular shade. You know I'm not getting rid of this palette. This is my Juvia's Place palette. I just recently got this in the mail. I have been using it, but not as much. I'm fixing to be taking a trip, going with my husband and my stepdaughter on a trip, so I'll probably take that palette with me. Getting into another Juvia's Place palette. This is the Sahara palette by Juvia's Place. I have to throw this palette away. Yes, I do. It is musky smell. It stinks. It does not smell right. I've used this palette quite a bit. It's got plenty of love. It just smells moldy, musky smell, and I don't really want to put this anymore on my eyes. I did not notice that. If I would have smelled it when I started using it before I panned these two shades, I probably would not use it. But I did it. So what I am going to do is I'm going to get rid of this palette and throw it in the trash. I have this palette here that was given to me, and it still smells good. And don't smell that bad. I smell them, and it don't smell that bad. I really do like this palette. I was always reaching for this palette a lot. And there's another palette that smells like this I reach for a lot too. I'm going to keep that palette as well. Another palette I want to keep is this Amuse palette. Let me smell it again and see for sure. This palette is weird because this palette, oh my god, this palette smells like Dr. Pepper. Why? I don't know. But it literally does. It smells like Dr. Pepper. I will be keeping that palette. Alright, down to another Juvia's Place palette. Got to go. Just like this palette, it stinks. I love this palette. I pan shades. I love this so much. I'm going to have to rebuy these palettes. These palettes are bad and they stink. Okay, I have these little palettes here. They're kind of like the Huda Beauty Jewel palettes. This one here is CMAADU Cosmetics, and it doesn't have, it just says the name. Oh, and they're all called Diamond Eyeshadow, so they're all called a Diamond Eyeshadow palette. And they say these last for 24 months. They got Instagram, YouTube videos on these palettes, Facebook and Twitter, or Snapchat, it says on the back. But these palettes are good. These are some nice palettes. They kind of remind me of the Huda Beauty palettes. I am keeping these palettes. I did pan, was using the orange one. And I did pan, I'm trying to figure out where I put that palette at because I have the orange one and it's supposed to be in Project Pan, but I don't know if I used it up or where it's at. But I did pan that yellow shade. This was one that I had to use in my palette Power Start, and the yellow shade was the one I had to pan, and I panned it out. I didn't think I would actually, to tell you the truth, I did not think that I would pan that shade. But I did. Here is the red one. The red one looks like so. Very, 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 this palette, I would have to say out of all the palettes, this one's my favorite one out of all these little palettes. So if I was to repurchase and buy these palettes again, this is the one I would rebuy because I like it so much. But like my husband said when I was working on this morning trying to figure it out, he says, well, if you like that one, keep that one and get rid of the other one. And I'm like, not. Another good palette. This one's pretty as well, but I still like the red one the best. So, for me to repurchase those, I'd probably just repurchase the red one. Here's another palette that was given to me by a friend on YouTube. And this palette, I've used it, but not a lot. I don't really use this palette a lot, but I love the formula in this palette. This palette also kind of smells a little bit like Dr. Pepper, but not much. I don't know if it's because it smells like Dr. Pepper, it's supposed to be bad. I don't know, but I'm still going to use this palette a little bit. I may end up, what I might end up doing is I may end up getting rid of, actually, you know what? I think I am going to get rid of this palette. But I'm not going to throw it in the trash. Like, these two got to go in the trash. I'm going to actually give it, some of these palettes that stink are going to go in the trash. This one don't stink, but I will get rid of this palette. I'm actually going to see if my stepdaughter wants this palette, because we're fixing to go on a trip with her, and she can use it when she's on the trip and try it out. And I will find something that I can put here, like a Q-tip or something for her to use as a brush. I'm going to set that aside. Another palette's got to go. This palette, I love this palette. I did not use this palette a lot. I never barely reached. Only for this shade is why I like the palette. Oh, this palette stinks so bad. It's so bad. And I have to get rid of it. Okay. I have these two palettes here. The other day, I broke this palette here. I actually dropped the original and broke it. And that is cool because I can put this in that palette for my stepdaughter. So I went out and rebought this palette because I broke the first one. All the shades shattered, but these two shades and everything else shattered. And I was like, but I did buy it again. And these are only $2.50 at Family Dollar, so that's not, bad at all. And then you have this one. I'm not going to sit here. And I do use this palette. You can tell. I use that palette too because on this palette, this palette I do use. I've reached for this shade a lot. On this palette here, the other one I was using, and I will admit that this shade right here was almost panned. It was real deep down in, so it broke, but I bought it again, so that is okay for me. My stepdaughter bought me a kit 1 year for Christmas, and it came with these Color Workshop shadows. I got rid of most of them, but I kept this one because it was rainbow, and I wanted a rainbow palette. This is before I got the James Charles palette. And I panned this yellow shade, and I do like this, so this is pretty cool. I'm going to keep that one. I have this one too by the Color Workshop. And I panned two shades out of here, which is shocking. So I'm going to keep them palettes. I have this Milani palette, and I've had this Milani palette for a very, very long time. And I thought it would smell bad. But actually, I did put my nose up to it. I got my tip of my nose covered in orange when I smelt it. But this is a pretty good palette. I panned a shade. This orange shade is going to be panned. This is a good palette. I love it. And it actually don't smell. But I've had it for a long time, and I should get rid of it. But I am not. I'm going to keep that palette. The next palette I have is one that my son bought me 1 year. And it is the BYS Peach Eyeshadow Palette. Love this palette. I panned this shade. This palette used to smell like peaches. The peach scent is going down some, but I have a feeling there's going to be a couple of shades in here, like 3 or 4 shades in here, that are about getting ready to pan. I like this palette. This is something I was thinking about repurchasing for myself, but I thought about getting one for my stepdaughter so she can have an eyeshadow palette that she can literally call her own that has not been used by her mother or by me or anybody else. Then I have Chill Baby by the same brand as the little pellets I showed y'all. Smells so, this palette is gorgeous. It smells so good. I love it. Just look at them beautiful shades. And you can get this palette on Wish. That's where I bought mine. Getting into it. This palette does not smell bad. But I've had this palette, oh my God, for a very long time. For this palette, I was with my son. I think we were at Kroger's. Or it might have been Walmart. Kroger's or Walmart. And I saw this palette. And I wanted the blush nude palettes. Because everybody was using these type of shades. They were into the nude shades and these shades. So I decided to get this palette. And I wanted my husband to get it. He wouldn't do it. So my son, my oldest son, he's on Social Security. He said, Mom, if you want that palette, I'll get it for you. And he bought it for me, and I did pan 2 shades. Your car door's shut. Anyway, so I got it, and it's perfect. But this is old. This is really, really old. This palette I've had since I started my makeup collection. It's got to go. And I've had this palette since, let's see, got married in 2010. I had this palette since 2012, I believe. 2011 or 12. It's got to go. It's old. I love it. I use it. Another palette that is going. I've had this one a long time. This is a Profusion palette. And I got this from a friend. She sent me this palette. And then I did another makeup swap with her. And she sent me the exact same palette. So I kept this one and gave the other one to my cousin. And then she had it for a while. And then finally she just decided to throw it away. This palette's old. It's got to go. I so wanted to keep this shade back out and use it. But I'm just going to leave it in here and pitch it. How it's going into the trash. Then I have this Wet n Wild palette. If you saw, I just recently did this in my Spotlight palette. I had to think for a second. And I did a look with this palette. And it's pretty cool. So I'm keeping this palette as well. Then I have this Amuse palette. I like this palette. I don't use it a lot. But I like it. And this palette smells like Dr. Pepper too. So I'm keeping that one. Then another one I'm keeping I just recently got is this palette by Juvia's Place. I love this palette so much. Oh my God, this palette is gorgeous. And this might be the palette I take with me when I go on my trip. I thought about the other palette, but I think I'm going to take this one. I have another palette here I recently bought. It's a limited edition. It's by, I think, Estee Lauder. Yeah, Estee Lauder. Keeping this palette. I am going to use it. I did tell my stepdaughter last time I talked to her that I was going to give her this palette. It's limited edition. You can't really put limited edition palettes on your page. I gave her my number 7 limited edition palette, and she loves it, and she's already panned like 2 shades out of it. I had 1 shade already panned. She panned 2 more, so it's 3 shades in pan. She likes that palette, and she goes, you had to give me something I was going to like. I said, go look on the number 7 website. If you can find that palette again, get it. And don't just get 1, but get 2 of them if they're cheap, because you can have it. You might could find it on Amazon, but I don't know. But this one was on Amazon for $9.88, which was not bad at all. And I did tell her this palette was hers, but I have to do it in my Spotlight palette, and I do have to test it out to see if I like it, because I've only done 1 look with this palette, and that don't mean nothing. Then here I have these palettes here, which are, and I have 1 more down here, but these are my Pat McGrath palettes. I will never get rid of my Pat McGrath palettes. When they start to smell bad, then I have to throw it away. But I love these palettes so much. Not this one here is trying to go hard pan on me. I've had these for a while. I love Pat McGrath. And this one too. I bought this one for the blue shade. Because everybody was showing this palette. They were showing that blue shade. And I had to have it. I just had to have it. Because of the blue shade. Alright. Let's get into these right here. Here are some more LA Color palettes. I love LA Color. Okay, these are cheap. They're $3. They're real cheap. I done showed one of them. This is the LA Colors. This is the nude palette, which is totally awesome. Love this palette. It's gorgeous. Oh my god, it's so gorgeous. They're nudes. What do you expect? They're going to be gorgeous. I also have this palette here. I'm going to go ahead and show it. Because this is for Thursday's video spotlight palette. And this is the Wet n Wild one. It was next. So I'm going to show y'all this one. Try to do a makeup look with it if I don't forget. And then you have the Rose palette, which is gorgeous. I love the Rose palette. I love them shades. Would I repurchase these palettes? Yes. And I've even told myself, made a promise to myself, that I would go and buy these palettes again. The color, the nude, and the other ones I have of these. I would buy them again to put in my backup drawer. Because I know come December, these palettes are going to probably be stinking, ranking eventually. And have to go and I can put in the new palettes. These are new to my collection. You've got the Fire and Ice palette, which are totally awesome. I've done looks with both of them already. So, that's not bad at all. And here is Ice, which is purple. I love the packaging because it's kind of like a clear color. It's like clear purple and a clear pink, so I like it. And the shades are gorgeous. Really cheap, $3, not bad at all. I know this video's long already. Then I have this LA Color palette, which these I think were $8 at Family Dollar, and this is Frisky. The other ones I got rid of. I gave one to my stepdaughter, one to the lady that's taking care of my brother. She calls me Mama, but her too. And I have this palette. I love it, and I love the shade here. I will actually have to swatch these two shades right here, because these two shades are like my favorite shades in this palette. They are gorgeous shades, and I love them. I've put this one in the corner of my eye, and oh my god, and did a look, and it was so, so perfect. Another palette I'm getting rid of is the Color Workshop Sunset Eyeshadow Palette. It's bulky for one. It smells like motor oil for two. I bought it for this shade here, and that's basically, well, you can actually see in here what shades I have actually used. It's got to go. Now, I can keep the can if I wanted to and give the can to my stepdaughter, but I'm just going to throw the can and the palette away. Okay, I have these palettes by Profusion. I have the nude one. I am going to keep the nude palette. It does not stink. It smells good. So I will keep that palette. I'm going to keep the blush palette because it does not smell and it is a pretty palette. These you cannot get anymore, but they were like $1, so I really don't show these on my page. I think I did do them in a spotlight palette to talk about them, but that was it. This is the neon palette. I really want to keep this, but I can't, because this smells musky, molded smell. And one of the shades in here, actually, I'm not going to show you, but it has mold on it. Would I put that on my eyes? Never. Why? Because it's bad. Did not want this at one time, but I'm going to keep this palette. This is a Revlon Color Stay, just not just nudes. And I like this palette, so I'm going to keep this in my makeup collection and use it up. But will I repurchase it again? Most generosity, not. I know a lot of these palettes I probably have done in Spotlight palette, but I'm going to put them all towards the back, and after I use the new ones that, well, I know which ones I've already used in Spotlight palette, but I'll put them up front. But I'm going to be redoing this because I need to make sure I get the right palettes for the palette, Spotlight palette. Yeah. This is another LA Color palette I do love. I need to repurchase this one again. I think this one's starting to go bad. I've had it for a very long time. I'm going to go ahead. Let me smell it one more time. Yeah, this palette's got to go. It reeks. I like that palette, but it's reeking. This was given to me by a friend on YouTube. I love this palette so much. All these palettes you see here, some of them I will write down on notebook paper. And if I don't write it on notebook paper, it's got to go. This palette stinks. It smells like... It just don't smell right. I don't know if it's supposed to smell like that or not. It's still, good. It's still, well, it's kind of chunky now, but it's still, let me show you. It still performs, but you can see that it's kind of chunky. So, yeah, this one's kind of chunky. See how it's coming up? It's coming out chunky. So, no, I'm going to go ahead and declutter this palette as well. But I am going to purchase it, and I may get it this weekend. On the next day my husband's off, I need to get me some more pajama bottoms. This is another one that's new to my collection as well. I know when my stepdaughter seen it, she thought this green shade had mold on it, but it was from my makeup brush from another shadow that I used. But I love this palette as well. So I'm not getting rid of my gold palette. It is a dupe for the Too Faced Chocolate Gold palette. This is Physician Formula. Not Physician Formula. Beach Cosmetic. This was given to me as well. This palette does not stink, but this palette is perfect. I panned one shade in it. I love this palette. I will keep it. When it is done, when I am done with this palette, my husband told me what to do. This pink thing here is going to come out. And he says because it's plastic, if you don't break it, you pull it out and you take these shadows out, and you can see if there's other shadows that are round like this. You see me? Hey. I was sitting here, I could see myself. Anyway, and he said you can use it as because I wanted a Z palette. He said I could probably use it as a Z palette. So I will be keeping that. And see, I could do that with this palette too. The other one that's in the tin can. Take it out and I can fill it up with eyeshadows that I like from palettes. And palettes I want to get rid of. This is the RK Dear Diary Secret Sunset Kiss palette. Love this palette. I started to buy this palette again the other day when I went to the dollar store. This palette is a good palette. I like it. I really love this shade here. These two shades. This shade here is going hard pan, but I love these two shades. Put them on my top of my knuckles. I love them two shades. They're really pretty. They're all these shades are really, all the shades in here are really, really pretty. I like them all. I'm going to keep that palette as well. Then my other one I got on 5/22, which was an anniversary gift from my husband. I got the Juvia's Place Nubian 3 Coral palette. He got me a gift card, and he told me to order what I wanted, and this is what I ordered. So, and the reason I put that I got it on the 22nd, I didn't actually get it on the 22nd because it came a little bit later, but I put that date because that's our anniversary. All right, I just got 2 more to go. This is the Pat McGrath palette as well. I've done panned and finished 3 shades. I love this palette. Very good palette as well. Let's set it here. Last but least, my most favorite palette in my whole collection besides my James Charles palette. Too Faced Sweet Peach. Scrimped and screamed and saved money for this palette. Still smells like peaches. I panned 2 shades. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. And I'm not going to lie to y'all. This is plastic in here. I'm going to pull this plastic off when this palette is done. Because I love the packaging. And I'm going to turn this into a Z palette. Alright guys, that is it for my eyeshadow palette collection. Declutter. Showing you my collection decluttered. So I basically decluttered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I threw in the trash yesterday. Well, threw it in the trash for today when the trash came. I threw it in the trash because one of them was molded, and actually, I don't know if it was mold, but it had fuzz on it, so I'm assuming it was mold, and I had to throw it away. So it was, okay, guys, that is it. If you're new to my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you want to be notified of more videos. Give this video a big hoorah, thumbs up. And if I decluttered a palette that you like, comment in the description box down below. And if there's any palettes I'm keeping that you might want to try out, let me know, and I'll try to tell you where I got it from. But I'll probably try to get in the description box down below and list some of the places where I got these palettes. Most of them on websites, their Juvia's Place website, or I've got it at the dollar store, or Wish, or Amazon. Till next time, guys. I love you, and bye.